You are Locked On 76ers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Philadelphia, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Welcome into the show, everybody. This is Locked On 76ers Postcast. My name is Mark Barzetta, and I apologize for being a beat or two late in actually starting the show. We kind of had to redo everything. I had to redo everything. The Sixers were losing that game. They had no business winning that game. Joel Embiid had 9 turnovers in the game. It was bonkers. In the fourth quarter, he's approaching a quadruple-double, and that ain't a good thing when you're talking about potentially 10 turnovers by Joel Embiid. Couldn't get anything going, couldn't do anything right, was coming up short on jump shots going into that fourth quarter, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, in the closing seconds of the fourth quarter, TYRESE Maxey rains down a 3 to tie it up and force overtime. Didn't see it coming, was praying for it to happen, and it actually happened. I was now Sixers eliminated. What now? Do you trade Embiid at the end? Is it over for Embiid? Do you tell Embiid he can't play in the playoff or in the Olympics? What happens next? And TYRESE Maxey said, "Hold on a minute. Not yet. We're not going home from the playoffs just yet. Now we're going home for Game 6." And hopefully it feels like a home game. But we're going home for Game 6, but we're not going home like away from the playoffs. TYRESE Maxey, this was his baptism, bar mitzvah, becoming a man, and whatever walk of life you got. This was the rite of passage for TYRESE Maxey because Joel Embiid was done. Absolutely 1,000,000,000% done. And we'll get into it. Let's get into the 3 big things as we always do. But first and foremost, I do have to tell you that this fine program today is brought to you by FanDuel. Tonight's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Number 1, I'm going to just jump right into it with TYRESE Maxey. I said before the game that this is going to be a guy that needs to score like 50 points for the Sixers to win this game. He scored 46, 17 in the most clutch quarter of his life. 17 points in that fourth quarter, including the game-tying 3 that sent it into overtime. You watch Joel Embiid throughout 4 quarters of basketball tonight struggle mightily. And different guys were able to step up. We'll get to them in a minute. But TYRESE Maxey was the constant. Embiid in the third quarter, when you saw him get 6 turnovers, 7 turnovers, 8 turnovers, you could see he was relying on everybody else to score. And then for some weird reason, he took it upon himself in the early goings of that fourth quarter to put up 2 bad shots. Both of them hit off the front of the rim, which shows you his legs are just done. And he is. His legs are done. He's got to play. He's got to try to play defense. He's got to try to block shots. He's got to try to pull down rebounds. He's got to try to play a very much of a passing game. He's got to be more like Joker than he's ever been in terms of facilitating and getting everybody else involved. So Joel Embiid has to step aside as the marquee scorer. And TYRESE Maxey said, "Give me that laurel wreath. Give me that crown. I'll take it the rest of the way." And that's exactly what TYRESE Maxey did. Before the season even started, I had a list of things I wanted to see from the Sixers as the season went on. It had really even nothing to do with what they were going to do in the playoffs. That would come later. I'm just talking about the regular season because I chalk up the NBA regular season, especially if you're a Sixers fan, to almost be glorified preseason basketball because the only thing that matters is really what you do in the playoffs. So during the regular season, I wanted to see James Harden traded, and that obviously happened rather quick, so that was done. And I wanted to see TYRESE Maxey become an all-star. Not only have I seen TYRESE Maxey become an all-star, I've seen him become a leader. I have seen him be wise beyond his years, and that's a cliche for a lot of people, but boy, it applies for TYRESE Maxey. And then I saw him be a killer in the playoffs, and that's what he was tonight. Number 2, Joel Embiid. I put it out there, I think in the second quarter. I said that he's cooked. He's empty. The tank is empty. Now, I know a lot of people want to jump to the idea that Joel Embiid is soft. They want to jump to the idea that he's made of glass. Okay, soft, made of glass are a couple of 2 different things in my book. Because glass means, yeah, you're hurt. I mean, that just happens. But soft means you quit. And one thing I will say about Joel Embiid, he is not quitting. People that say he's soft, imply he's a quitter. He's out there playing. I don't know what he needs to do to show people that he is not just going to quit on this team. He is out there playing in these games on one knee. He is a motorcycle, and he's got nothing in the tank. That is emptied, and he is somehow finding fumes in the tank somewhere, and he's got one tire. That's Joel Embiid, and he is finding somehow, some way to get you home. That's what he's trying to do. You can talk about the 9 turnovers, and very well, absolutely talk about the 9 turnovers, and I'm not ignoring that. But the guy finishes with a triple-double with 19 points. He pulls down in total tonight, again on one leg and nothing in the tank, 16 rebounds and gets you 10 assists with 19 points. Yes, 9 turnovers, and we'll absolutely talk about that. This is not a popular opinion, and I am not at all a defender of Joel Embiid, and I think what Joel Embiid had to say after the last home game was way too much. To talk about the fans? Really? After you score 1 point in the fourth quarter? Are you kidding me, Joel Embiid? And you want to talk about the fan base? I don't have a problem with saying it's annoying, you hated it. That's fine, and he said all that. But to say, Philadelphia is supposed to be it's supposed to be a sports city. That's like, okay, you don't stop. That's where you're going over the line. TYRESE Maxey said great things about it. And said what he could. Say, hey, we gotta give the Sixers fans reason to cheer. Nick Nurse said the same thing. We gotta give them something to cheer about. It's not really. Don't put too much stock into it. So I've been plenty critical of Joel Embiid, and throughout the entire game, I was saying he's got nothing left in the tank. Everybody else has to step up. In the third quarter, I noticed that Joel Embiid was passing up opportunities to try to score the basketball because there was multiple times in the entire first half where you saw him go hard to the basket, trying to get contact, get a call, and he wasn't getting the call. Then in opportunities where he could actually be open to knock down a shot, he was short. Again, clanked off the front of the rim, time and time again. Going to the lane, trying to pull up and knock down jumpers that we're used to seeing him knock down, clank off the rim. Getting blocked. Joel Embiid getting blocked by the OG in the paint. Like that, how does that happen? That shouldn't happen, but it was happening tonight. It's because he's done. So in the third quarter, Tobias Harris passes the ball to Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid turns his back to Hammerstein and goes and tries to get into the lane and is dribbling. Tobias Harris wide open on a cut, and Joel Embiid actually tries to give him the basketball. It would have been a great play if Tobias Harris was in the least bit expecting the pass from Joel Embiid. Now, look, he had 9 turnovers, okay? So I'm not excusing that. But the team had to kind of understand that, oh, wow, he really is done. I don't know what he's going to give you coming up in Game 6. The only thing I'm expecting from him, give me defense, get me rebounds. And if you could be a facilitator and you can concentrate on more of the 10 assists and 16 rebounds like you got tonight, especially 5 on the offensive glass, you do that, and the Sixers get what they got from TYRESE Maxey and this bench that we'll get to in a second. You get all that, and you can win Game 6 and force a Game 7 back in MSG. You do all that again, you have a huge opportunity to force that Game 7. And actually redeem the Wells Fargo Center a little bit, where maybe we don't feel like it, Philadelphia. It's now, Madison Square Garden South, like it was for Game 4, and a lot of Game 3 as well. But Joel Embiid, I know some people don't want to hear this, but it's not even a hot take. It's a wildly fair assessment to say that he gutted out 4 quarters and overtime to try to help this team win. Were there stupid passes? Absolutely. Oh, Nico Batum. Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh, my. Nico Batum's passing tonight. He only had 2 turnovers. It felt like 10. It felt like 10 with some of the turnovers in some of the spots. He also made up for it with some blocks. Speaking of blocks, Joel Embiid also had 5 blocks in the game. So for a guy that doesn't have a lot left in the tank, he's fighting through something. That's for sure. And I know, again, I'll go back to it. People talking about him being soft and all that stuff. The guy's playing through one leg. He's playing on one leg. And Bell's palsy, and he's going out there and putting up a performance like that. Look, it doesn't look as good unless TYRESE Maxey steps up. That's why he's number 1. That's why 46 points from TYRESE Maxey tonight is ultimately what matters in 52 minutes. Joel Embiid, 48 minutes played tonight. Number 3. Maxey, Embiid, and then number 3. I have told you many times, forget that Tobias Harris is even on the team. Just if you get defense and rebounds and maybe a 3 or 2 in the first quarter from Tobias Harris, consider yourself lucky. Hey, you're lucky. But Tobias Harris in the first quarter almost instantaneously comes up with 7 points for you and helps this team get off on the right foot so that when you started off that first quarter, you were starting off with a 26-17 edge in that first quarter. That's a lot because of Tobias Harris. Yes, TYRESE Maxey was helping out as well, but you expected from TYRESE Maxey to get points, 19.7 rebounds, 2 offensive boards from Tobias Harris tonight is huge. You need him stepping in the right direction right now if you're going to win this series. You're talking about a guy that shot 3 of 6 from beyond the arc tonight, and that's a huge night for Tobias Harris. And if you're not going to get the regular points of 35 points from Joel Embiid, then you need guys like Tobias Harris, an honorable mention, Kelly Oubre stepping up in the fashion that they stepped up tonight. Harris ended up giving you 49 points. Kelly Oubre ended up giving you 38. And you actually, how about this? Go figure. You got 14 points off the bench. What? Yes. 14 points off the bench for the Sixers. That doesn't sound like a brag, but how it's gone in this series, it's a brag. Campaign, again, was able to help you out, give you 14 minutes. Nico Batum gave you 33, 8 points, including 2 threes from Nico Batum. And then you also had 2 threes from Campaign for his 6 points. That's what this team needs. You didn't see DeAnthony Melton this time. I know some people were calling for maybe a little bit of a spark off the bench with KJ Martin or Ricky Council IV. I never anticipated that to happen. I think that if DeAnthony Melton wasn't going to be good to go, it wasn't like Nick Nurse was all of a sudden going to trust Buddy Hield again late in the game. That wasn't happening. But you got help. In a night where Joel Embiid was not his regular offensive self, he did finish with 19 points. Everybody else stepped up. And that has to happen. I think the Sixers need to realize that what they got from Joel Embiid in the second half of this game is what they're going to get from Joel Embiid for however long this series is going to go. Game 6, possibly Game 7, beyond. It's not going to get ahead of myself just yet. But all those things, you're going to have to realize that Joel Embiid is just going to be this version of himself. I would be astonished if Joel Embiid had another even 35-point game, let alone a 40 or a 50. This seems to be the version of basketball that he's going to have to play. And everybody else is going to have to step up and support him and realize that, hey, Superman, he's got some kryptonite right next to him. He's going to try to help you in some ways, but those ways aren't going to be 35, 40, 50 points. That's going to be TYRESE Maxey. We'll break it down even further when we come back, including how this game went into overtime, some questionable calls on both sides of the basketball court there for the Knicks and for the 76ers. Right now, you are locked on 76ers Postcast. My name is Mark Farzetta. Right now, while we have you, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe. When we come back, we'll break down that fourth quarter a little bit further. You're locked on 76ers Postcast. You guys having fun on DoorDash? You should be having fun on DoorDash, especially when you use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. Now, you might be using DoorDash already, and if you are, fantastic. You know how it works. But have you thought about using DoorDash for Mother's Day right around the corner? Use Locked On NBA. That's Locked On NBA as a promo code to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower arrangement for mom. Maybe your convenience store, or maybe your convenience order, maybe your grocery order, retail order, whatever the case may be on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA. Order using DoorDash today. And remember, terms apply. And we all want to make sure that we take care of mom for Mother's Day. DoorDash offers you a way to do so at a very efficient way and one that fits into your schedule. Get mom thoughtful gifts, the gifts that she deserves from the brands she recognizes. Choose same-day delivery or schedule a week ahead of time for when flowers and gifts can arrive at her door via DoorDash. So make sure you take care of mom. Order now and get everything you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Once again, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. You see it at the bottom of the screen right there to get 50% off your next order. Promo code LOCKEDONNBA to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower arrangement for mom, maybe your convenience order, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA using DoorDash today. Let me just get some comments in here before I start breaking down the fourth quarter. Mr. Z, this would be crazy if the Sixers win. I don't know when you put that in there, Mr. Z, but I'm going to go ahead and assume it was the closing minutes of the fourth quarter there. Petey Siegel or Seigel, what's going on there? 9 effing turnovers. Good. Oh, sorry, that means something else. Yeah, that's terrible. There's no excuse for that. I'm not going to tell you, oh, he got 9 turnovers. That means nothing, but he had 5 blocks. Yeah, I'm not going to say that. Because here's the deal. Here's the alternative. So let me just focus on this for a second. With Joel Embiid, here's something. With Joel Embiid, if he doesn't play in this game, the Sixers lose. It's over. No, you say, oh, 9 turnovers. Yeah, you're right. But 9 turnovers pales in comparison to Paul Reed and Mo Bamba and Nico Batum getting extended minutes. This game, forget about overtime. This game is over at halftime. Oh, 9 turnovers. Yes, that is a big deal, but I still rather have Joel Embiid with 9 turnovers than 48 minutes of Paul Reed and Mo Bamba running at the center position, and also, of course, Nico Batum. So I'd rather that be the case, especially if you're shorthanded, if you have a guy like DeAnthony Melton that's not able to play. So, yeah, so you can say all you want about the 9 turnovers, and I get it, and it's not nothing. I'm not pushing it aside. But what I am saying is without Joel Embiid tonight, you don't win. How can I say that with 9 turnovers? I know some people might be saying, well, because he did everything else. That's why. Defense, rebounds, blocks, and 19 points. Is it 35? Is it 40? No, obviously not. But it still helped hugely. And still, him on the court is better than the Bamba and Reed extension and Nico Batum, who has filled in at center. So that for me is scary to think about life without Joel Embiid in general. And I was thinking about that in the fourth quarter. Better believe it. And speaking of the fourth quarter, let's jump into it because, oh my goodness gracious. Before you got into that overtime period, now I had my head down for a minute as I was trying to put some things together for the postcast here, and I'll tell you exactly how this happened. Well, I'll lead up to it. You know, the suspense is good. But Harris was able to get a rebound for the Sixers off an Embiid jumper that was off balance. And Harris got the rebound. They got it down the other end. Embiid put it up, throws up a prayer, and somehow magically it went in. And that made it a 1-point game. Then OG had the turnover. Embiid misses a hook shot. Batum missed a layup. Tap in that situation. Embiid turned it over again. OG goes the other way. All of a sudden, it's 91-86 in favor of the New York Knicks. So at this point, I'm thinking, this is where it ends. This is where it ends. Then Maxey's able to get the N1, and he misses the free throw. It's 91-88. Brunson comes up with a jumper in the paint. How he got in there and got the shot off, I don't know. But it's 93-88 at this point. Then Maxey with it 97-94 in favor of the Knicks. Now, at this point, I am creating like the thumbnail for social media. You know what I mean? I'm getting everything ready to go for the postcast. And I have the play-by-play up on ESPN, the stats and the play-by-play up on ESPN. I have the game on TV. The stats and the play-by-play on ESPN.com are ahead of the TV. And all of a sudden, I see 34-foot three-pointer Tyrese Maxey, 97-97, end of the fourth quarter. And I go, no way. Moments later, I look up. Tyrese Maxey hits the three. Time runs out in the fourth quarter. We're going to overtime. In the overtime period, Jalen Brunson starts things off with a three, gets another layup. Before you know it, you're down 5 points. Maxey has the driving layup where he gets fouled by Hart. There's no call there. I thought that was questionable. Maxey comes down. He's able to knock down another three. It makes Embiid's 10th assist. It makes it a 102-100 game in favor of the New York Knicks. So the Sixers still trailing by 2. Maxey, then of all people, gets the defensive rebound. Embiid goes down the other end. He's able to hit the free throws, gets his 15th rebound as well. Maxey has a bad turnover. Embiid makes up for it with a block down the other end. Kelly Oubre runs it down the other end on a run out to get the layup. And all of a sudden, the Sixers somehow, some way, grab a lead, 103-102. Embiid then hits down a jumper. Somehow he mustered that up, 15-foot jumper where he got fouled. It's a 106-102 game. Embiid comes up with another block. This was, I thought, questionable. I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was OG, but I might be wrong. The foul on Kelly Oubre in the first quarter. Kelly Oubre got thrown to the ground. It was Robinson. Robinson throws Kelly Oubre to the ground. Oubre's trying to set a screen. He gets thrown to the ground, like extended the arms, okay? Like you would call a penalty in football. It'd be a penalty in football, but apparently it's not a flagrant in basketball with all the crazy rules of the flagrant foul nowadays. So he gets thrown to the ground. Kelly Oubre is looking at him like laughing. They review it. It's fine. Why is it fine? Because Mitchell Robinson did not wind up. The flagrant foul rules are just ass backwards, if you ask me, in the NBA. I almost called it the NFL. So then you go to that you go to the overtime period. Jalen Brunson initiates contact on Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid extends his hand out, probably to just get the ball, goes for the ball, and gets called for the flagrant one. How does that make any sense whatsoever? It reminded me of Kyle Lowry in game 3, I believe it was, extended his hand over Dante DiVincenzo and swiped his face, and that got called for the flagrant one. Like, he's clearly trying to make a basketball play. Embiid is clearly trying to make a basketball play, and that's a flagrant? Embiid wasn't trying to smack Jalen Brunson in the face. That wasn't his intention. He's trying to come down and get some of the basketball. Unfortunately, basketball is sometimes a contact sport. That, to me, is bogus. And the fact that Mitchell Robinson in the first quarter there doesn't get called for flagrant and he threw somebody down, okay, but he didn't wind up. Makes no damn sense to me. No sense to me whatsoever. But go on in that fourth quarter, or excuse me, now the overtime period. You have the questionable call there. Brunson's able to make one of the 2 free throws. They get the ball back. Brunson hits a 3, ties it up at 106-106. That's when Kelly Oubre got the run out. That's where he got the dunk. Made it a 108-106 lead for Philly. Batum had a horrible turnover, but it ended up not coming back to bite them in the butt because Brunson ended up turning it over. Then Batum comes up with the good defense there to force that turnover. Brunson fouls Harris, and that was it. That was all she wrote for this basketball game. I still feel like I am riding an emotional roller coaster. And you know what? I wanted to do the Phillies postcast today. Well, I'll talk about that in a second, but we might not be able to because the Phillies are going on right now. So I don't know how much of the game I'm going to see. It's only the 3rd inning. Come on. Anyway, watching this game, we'll talk about the emotions and what this team has going forward when we come back here. While Locked On 76ers postcast here on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel for all our 76ers and Phillies postcasts as well. We'll be back in a second. I hope you won some money tonight, and I hope you won that money on FanDuel when you're using FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on for all FanDuel has to offer, and take advantage of this incredible deal courtesy of that locked-on promo code. It's playoff time in the NBA, as we well know, as well as the NHL. Baseball in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. And right now, new customers get $150. That's $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks. Bet on it all. And you can do it all on an app that is safe and secure and easy to use when you go to FanDuel. Bet on everything at FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Have some fun and win some money when it comes to FanDuel. So what do the Sixers need to do going forward? I think they need to, number one, look at Joel Embiid and say that the stat line that he put up tonight was absolutely incredible. But the 19-point output from Joel Embiid that has to be the expectation from here on out. If Joel Embiid, and this was a big problem with Hammerstein, it was a big problem with Robinson, when Joel Embiid puts his back to the basket and starts trying to be 90s center, Joel Embiid, that is a dangerous time for the Sixers. If he draws the double team, the kick out has to come quick. If this is what you're going to expect from Joel Embiid in terms of looking for other players to step up and knock down shots, especially late in games, if this is what's to be expected, then maybe you do need to decide to go to the end of the bench a little bit more. Maybe this is where guys like Buddy Hield might get a second chance at playing in the playoffs because they're going to have to be so reliant on shooters. If guys are collapsing, especially as they've been over the last 5 quarters, including the overtime, 6 quarters, including overtime, as well as the Knicks have, to contain Joel Embiid and limit his abilities, then that kick out needs to come quick. And Campaign needs to be hot from three. Nico Batum, Tobias Harris, if they do go closer to the end of the bench, a guy like Buddy Hield in the very off the beaten path opportunity or a chance that he gets another opportunity to play, those guys have to be hot from three. I would like for Tyrese Maxey to not have to drop 46 points in a game for the Sixers to just squeak out an overtime victory. I would like for that to happen. Now, they did outscore the Knicks 15-9 in the overtime period. But I'd like for Tyrese Maxey to not have to drop in 46 points. I'd like for him to not have to do that. I'd like for him to not have to come up with 9 assists in the game, but he did. And that's how the Sixers won. That's the main reason why the Sixers won. But if Joel Embiid is going to continue to give you a 19, maybe 20-point performance, if this is the new version of Joel Embiid, then guys have to be ready to step up and shoot. And not just that, guys have to be ready for that pass. It's not excusing anything Joel Embiid did tonight, but there were some plays that all of a sudden Joel Embiid was trying to make that we're not used to seeing him make. Even for a season where he's never had assist numbers like he had during the course of when he was active during the regular season. This is something that he has been making a conscious effort of, trying to be a guy to set up his teammates. Going into the season and watching him through January before he had the injury and then was out for 2 months, one of my main takeaways from just watching him play in the first couple months of the season was he's trying to develop that part of his game where he's getting everybody else involved. This game was tenfold. The second half was tenfold. And that's something that Kelly Oubre, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, that's something that those guys were just not ready for. They're at this point, I think, understanding and ready for Joel Embiid to set them up, but just not at the frequency, especially if he's only got one guy on him. If they see somebody collapse and that's where they're trying to trap him, that's where they're trying to double team him, well, then sure, they're going to try to help him out, unlike his last turnover of the game, unfortunately, there. Where he was alone on one side of the court and nobody came to the ball and he had to heave it across the court and ended up being his 9th turnover. But through the next 4 quarters, the 76ers are going to have to be expecting Joel Embiid to want to give the basketball up. Now, it was funny, at the end of the third quarter, I had tweeted out just before the start of the fourth quarter that Joel Embiid, it's never been more obvious that he's been reliant on other people to score. And then, of course, he shoots his first shot of the fourth quarter off the front of the rim, second shot of the fourth quarter off the front of the rim, forces another issue, forces another bad pass. He's got 2 turnovers just like that in the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Glad I tweeted that out. Wonderful. But this has to be the brand of basketball to expect from Joel Embiid, however long this series is going to go. If the Sixers are going to force a Game 7, then what the 76ers have to do is limit Joel Embiid to this brand of basketball that you saw tonight, minus the turnovers. And I think you can easily eliminate 3 of those turnovers, so still 6 is a lot. But you can easily eliminate at least 3 of those turnovers if guys are ready for him to make a play to them. Not for him to make a play on his own, but for him to set up other players so that they can knock down a 3, so they can knock down a jumper, so they could, he could find a cutting Kelly Oubre and Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. They do that, and this 76ers team will be forcing a Game 7, and they'll be back at MSG for a final game of this series, no matter how you slice it. I will say this: this is with a lot of thought. A lot of thought goes into this. That's one of the greatest 76ers wins I've ever seen. Been watching this team a long time. It's one of the greatest Sixers wins I've ever seen. For one of the things that made it so great was, I think, for however long this series goes, for however long this Sixers playoff run goes, this to me was the changing of the guard. Joel Embiid will come out next year, possibly compete for an MVP award, get his name in that running again. But when it comes to who you're going to go to in that fourth quarter, when it comes to the final shot, that's Tyrese Maxey. And whatever does happen at the end of this year, if the Sixers decide, you know what, maybe we can get something for Joel Embiid right now, maybe we can get the Rudy Gobert haul, the 3 first-round picks, and see if they can get a player that can play now and all that. If the Sixers are in that school, then I feel a lot better having watched this playoff performance tonight about Tyrese Maxey. And I already was feeling pretty damn good about Tyrese Maxey. But seeing him step up, especially with 17 points in the fourth quarter and knocking down that game-tying three, that was something special. All right, Phillies right now are in – will they get to the fourth inning yet? I'm going to try to tell you guys about if I'm going to do a top of the fourth inning. They're up 3-1. You bet your booty we'll do a Phillies postcast tonight. So I'll do the double dip. All right. So you'll have me. Oh, Nick Castellanos just got a single. Look at that. He's got two he's got 2 hits. All right. Now we have, if Nick Castellanos is hitting the baseball, we got to do a Phillies postcast. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to this fine new YouTube channel, Locked On Sports Philadelphia. Make sure you're here for our Phillies postcasts. Make sure you're here on, Thursday night now for the Sixers postcast. We'll break it down there as well. We got so much to get into for the rest of the night. We got so much to get into for the rest of the week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark at Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. I'll be back with you guys a little bit later tonight following Phillies and Angels. Phillies trying to even that 3-game series in Los Angeles with the Angels. Thanks, everyone. See you a little bit later tonight. Bye.